Good Wednesday afternoon, everyone. I'm getting
easy for you.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm meteorologist Jacob Wycoff, joined by Terry Eliasen here. We have a next weather alert in effect, so we want to hop on here, tell everyone what they can expect as we go into really the evening hours and into the overnight hours.
Yeah, we're day of our first, I guess you would call it, widespread winter storm, although it's not going to snow for everybody. This will be the first plowable snowfall in parts of our area since last year. So definitely a worthy event for a weather alert, and we want to get you caught up on the latest timeline, amounts, etc. Let's
hop into the graphics there. So tonight, some of the precipitation will start falling as early as about 8 p.m. or so. Certainly, as you go further to the west in the higher elevations, likely starting as some snow. And this should start to wrap up as we approach the tail end of the morning commute tomorrow. Now, as far as what we're expecting at the coastline from Cape Ann to Boston, South Shore into the southeastern coastline, this is mainly a rain event.
Yeah, and as you'll see in our timeline, you know, if you live along the coast in Boston, anywhere in southeastern Mass, you know, really no concerns for any sort of snow. There may be some wet flakes mixing in, especially early tomorrow morning, but really not a big deal. It's really, you know, west of I-95 and even more so west of 495 where the issues will be.
And I would say when we look at our historic database of snowstorms, moderate impacts. Timing-wise, kind of works out for us, doesn't arrive in a commute. It's not like snow falling before an evening commute or something like that. Overnight, the plow driver should be able to knock this out pretty easily, I feel like. There certainly could be some issues on the roads tomorrow morning. But grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I think grand scheme of things, I think there's two things working sort of against us here. And it's it's the first event of the season. So maybe
we got to remember.
Yeah, and not only that, but it hasn't really snowed much the last couple of years. So like there are a lot of folks that, I don't know about you, a lot of folks that didn't break out their snow blowers at all last year, maybe once or twice. So it's just kind of a reminder that, okay, it can still snow here. And again, it's not happening everywhere, but you know, there will be some folks digging out tomorrow morning, trying to get to work, especially in central Mass. So.
Absolutely, yeah. So we do have a winter weather advisory up for pretty much
that's the area of concern,
for Northwest Middlesex County and then Worcester County and beyond. That pink shaded color there in, is that southern Vermont? Yeah, that would be a winter storm warning where we would see, with the higher elevations in the Green Mountains, seeing some of those higher totals.
Yeah, the winter storm warning is issued generally when they think 6 inches of snow or more is likely, and that I can see that in the Green Mountains. I don't think anywhere else you would say it's likely, as you'll see in our snow map in a bit. We probably, that would be the upper end of things here for our area.
All right, so we're looking at this right now. We're saying, all right, it's already in the Connecticut River Valley, it's already in the Berkshires. This isn't falling just yet.
Yeah, so I haven't looked at OBS, but I'm assuming that's not reaching the ground. That's sort of typical for snow. It takes a while to saturate the atmosphere. So I highly doubt, maybe in that darker blue area and some of the higher elevations of the Berkshires, there's a few flakes falling. But I wouldn't look at this and say, oh no, our evening commute here is going to be crazy. It's not. The actual storm, and we'll widen out here in a second, the actual storm, you can't even really detect it on radar. You can see a sort of a general spin, but it's not like there's a wall of moisture. It's sort of still in its formative stages. So that little branch coming into Western Mass right now really is not a huge concern.
Absolutely. So here's Futurecast. Watch as we step through the timeline here. Mainly dry through this evening, but then heading beyond the evening commute into the overnight hours, you see the rain snow start to break out. Boston, as you go south towards Providence and north towards Cape Ann and even into the seacoast, this is mainly rain. And then, as Terry mentioned, outside of 128, probably the best chance for snow, and certainly into the higher elevations of Worcester County. Again, this is positive 10 o'clock. Some of those bands, too, we'll have to watch to see how that progresses. Could drop a quick, half inch of snow.
Definitely. So if you're heading out, if you do have to be on the roads after 10 o'clock tonight and west of the city, it probably will get a little bit dicey on the side roads. The plows will probably be out before long. And then here's the morning commute tomorrow. So as far as commutes go, the one commute that's really going to be affected is tomorrow morning. Again, much worse west of the city and west of 495. But still, even a rainy morning commute is not a fun morning commute.
No, not at all. Throw any wrenches into a commute and it adds problems. By 10 o'clock, though, starting to clear out. Maybe a couple of stray snow showers. Excuse me. Easy.
That little band out in Albany, as you see, it kind of swings through, and that's the actual cold front. So we could see for any time between midday and say 2 or 3 in the afternoon a quick either rain or snow shower. If it's cold enough and it's a snow shower, maybe you get a quick coating on the roads. We'll have to watch that tomorrow afternoon.
Which we did see yesterday evening.
Yeah.
We saw that in Western Mass. We actually saw it in parts of Rhode Island too, getting kind of a quick coating. The National Weather Service issued a special weather statement, not a snow squall warning or alert or anything like that, but just raising the concern of, hey, you could see some coatings. And then we start to clear out, turning colder.
Colder, yeah. That cold front ushers in, once again, we've said this a few times, the coldest air of the season, which we'll talk about in a second. But we have 3 timelines here now. We have a Boston, we have a 495-ish, which I guess you would think of like Lowell, Westford, Marlborough, and then we have a Worcester one. This is just to show color-wise and timeline-wise what we're thinking. So I think you'll notice all of them start around 8, 9 o'clock tonight. All of them end around 8, 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. But in Boston, we're mostly green. That little pink, maybe a brief mix. I think if there's a time for the coast, Boston areas east of I-95 to mix with some wet snow, it would be very early tomorrow morning, before or around dawn, but I don't think it really amount to much.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're coming off of all of that rain, there's still going to be some latent moisture and heat on the ground, so it likely won't cause any issues in Boston. But then you start to take a trip out to the west, a little bit more significant kind of burst possible as you go into the overnight hours between 2, 3 in the morning and, you know, kind of wrapping up as the morning commute starts.
Yeah, and so this again, a picture of those towns around that northern branch of 495, you know, sometime around or after midnight. Probably will be tough to stick right away if it comes down hard enough though, and we'll show you in a minute in our map. This is where we think there could be a coating to an inch of sort of wet, sloppy stuff.
Right.
Much different story as you go out in Worcester County. This is actually Worcester City's forecast. This model has them mixing a little bit here and there. I do think it'll be largely snow out there.
Yeah.
But again, you see the timing pretty much the same for all these locations, about a 12-hour event. And then that last bar there, at 1 p.m. would be that sort of front.
The front moving through, yeah, absolutely. All right, so what are we thinking here? This is going to be mainly snow outside of 495 as you get inside of 495, between 495 and 128. That's where we would see perhaps some rain and wet snow mixing in, the lighter accumulations. And then mainly rain for Boston. It's been so long since we've had any sort of measurable snow, like a really good snowstorm. This is not it. So don't get our hopes up, kids.
It's not it, yeah. And in fact, I just updated a graphic, which we don't have here, but that infamous graphic with a 4-inch or more snow in one storm in Boston, and it's now been 1,013 days since we've had one of a, you know, literally like a legit snowstorm in Boston.
It's been rough. It's been rough. If you're a kid and you want a snow day, every time I do a snow day or a school visit, they ask me, "Are we going to get an actual snow day this year versus, you know, what happened last year?" 3 to 6 inches in parts of Worcester County. I think that even in some of the higher elevations in Tolland County, Connecticut, could see some of those higher totals too, and that extends up into parts of southern New Hampshire too. That's going to be the bullseye for this storm.
Yeah, and I do think that tomorrow morning we will wake up to some school delays or cancellations anywhere from 495 west, depending on the timing of the snow, obviously how much. I wouldn't be shocked to see some of these towns from Worcester and northward to have a couple hours delay.
Certainly like Route 2, the Leominsters, the Fitchburgs, those towns.
I don't know about a cancellation of school per se. I think if, you know, especially given the timing of this thing is shutting off tomorrow morning, I would think a couple hours would be enough time for them to clean things out. So kids, I don't know that I would not do the homework. But you may get to sleep in an hour or two later tomorrow. And again, this is west of 495, elsewise.
But as we get closer, within 128, 495 to 128, that's where we would see sort of the coating to an inch, the sloppy mess out there, and then just some wet snowflakes mixing in for Boston. Again, you'll probably get, if you're a very early riser, you could see a brief kind of snow shower in Boston, but it's not going to accumulate at all.
Don't get too excited.
Absolutely.
And here, just to reiterate, the travel impact, that Thursday morning commute, definitely the highest impact going on then. Starting around 8 or 9 o'clock tonight if you're on the roads, but it's a quick, you know, by storm standards and snowstorm standards, pretty quick mover. Probably anytime after 8 or 9 a.m. tomorrow, you're fine, other than just that rogue afternoon snow shower, rain shower. So it's just that morning commute tomorrow. Maybe you want to work from home if you can.
Are you giving me permission?
No.
It is also my day off, though. Yeah. All right, and then behind all of that, as Terry mentioned, the rogue snow shower in the afternoon, that's the cold front. Behind this, highs on Friday are going to be chilly.
So any snow that does fall and accumulate probably will stick around for a little bit.
Starts to crust over a little bit, freeze. Highs inland in the upper 20s. That's I think significant. That's 10 or 12 degrees below the average for this time of year.
Add a little wind on, which I think we'll see with the next graphic, and it will feel even colder.
Yeah, so look at some of these wind gusts as you go into Thursday. You start to see them picking up Thursday afternoon. You're talking 25 to 35 miles per hour, even stronger at the southeastern coastline. And then we see the wind direction kind of shifting a little bit from the southwest to more of the northwest, and that's going to be some of the cold air spilling in. And so Friday morning, 20 to 30 mile per hour winds with feels like temperatures probably, is that the next graphic feels like? Yeah, so we'll see this.
Rough day to be at the bus stop Friday morning. Not ideal.
Definitely bundling up. You're talking single digits to mid to low teens for your feels like temperatures.
Yeah, and I think those areas that have a snowpack, that those will tend to be the colder areas, temperature-wise and wind chill-wise. It just just helps to have some snow on the ground to actually make it a little bit colder.
Right.
Again, out in Worcester County.
And this is the afternoon. You're not improving.
Not much improvement. Yeah. And Saturday's a little bit better, but not a ton.
Right. Right. So we will see a little bit less wind. That's really going to be the moderating factor. Is less wind. So we will see the wind chill not being as big of a factor. If you're heading out, we've had some ski resorts that have already started making snow or picked up some natural snow. It's good snowmaking weather, but they're going to get that boost from Mother Nature heading into tonight.
Yeah, I think this is probably the best early season for northern New England in several years. I've heard a lot of great things about it, and we have some panels coming up that'll show you which ones are open, which ones are not. But there's quite a few, so Vermont. I mean, this is a pretty good list for December. What does it say? 4th.
December 4th. Yeah.
Considering in recent years, we've struggled to open up before Christmas.
Yeah.
A base of generally 12 to 24 inches in most of these places in Vermont, and I think we'll see the same in New Hampshire. So pretty good stuff if you're thinking about heading up north. I would just check ahead of time, make sure this is a partial list, but every ski area is not currently open. They all have different opening dates, but these are the ones that we know are. Just check before you go up, but great early season for them.
Yeah, it's been a rough going. We've done this story multiple times, how they're adapting to Mother Nature. They're changing to an all-year model where they have outdoor activities. But you love to see that for some of these businesses that really, this is their make or break season.
Right, and to get an early start is great.
Is wonderful.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And
if you're going up to Maine, they're getting some cold too. Even locally, I think you said Wachusett.
Wachusett has plans to open on Friday for the first time, I believe.
I love that.
Again, check to make sure, but I don't see why they wouldn't. They're probably going to get 3 to 6 tonight, and they've already been making snow. So yeah, and I would assume that places like Ski Ward and Shrewsbury probably have a good chance to open up later this week.
Right.
So yeah, good times for
And
skiers.
those are good people, both Ski Ward and also Wachusett. They've invested a lot of money in being able to make their snow. So to throw them a bone a little bit, Mother Nature, appreciate that. Yeah. We get this shot of cold air that arrives behind the snow, and it somewhat moderates though as we go into next week. So the bitter cold, the bundling up at the bus stop, you're still probably gonna have to do it, but it's not gonna be as harsh.
Yeah, and I think the longer range, starting with next week, is for milder conditions. We're not talking about back into the 60s and 70s, but overall for the Northeast and much of the northern tier, the next 1 to 2 weeks after we get by this little cold snap. The next 1 to 2 weeks looks near or slightly above average for temperatures. So it's possible we may have already weathered the worst part of December. We'll see.
Okay. Yep.
Long month to go, but at least for the next 1 to 2 weeks, mid-December looks fairly mild.
And the number one question we always get is, will we have a white Christmas? It's been a while since we've had, probability-wise, purely statistics, it is really, we're behind the 8 ball as it is.
Yeah, Boston, by this graphic, and again, this is over 150 years or so, there's about between
10 to
25% chance of now, white Christmas is 1 inch of snow on the ground at 7 a.m. on Christmas morning. They have to have a definition.
It's not the hallmark looking out the Christmas window. It doesn't have to be falling. It's just on the ground.
But I will say that I believe Boston's only had maybe 1 or 2 in the last 20, 25 years. It's been very rare recently. And even in the suburbs, the close suburbs, 40, 50% around 495. It's been much less than that the last 10 or 20 years. So this year, again, we're 20 days away. besides tonight, we don't have anything in the offing yet. Well, so it would have to probably be something that happens closer to Christmas, and we'll just have to see.
Right.
I wouldn't hold my hopes.
All right, so here is our 7-day forecast. If we could take this full to show that we do have temperatures getting back into the upper 30s today. We're basically at the high temperature for today. It's tonight into early Thursday that we have that next weather alert in effect for the incoming snow and rain event. Tomorrow's morning commute will be dicey. If you live really west of 495, closer to the city, a little bit lesser impacts because it's just plain rain. Still, don't want to drive through any precipitation. We turn chilly heading into Friday. Wind chills in the morning in the single digits to mid to low teens, staying somewhat bitter as you go into Saturday. And our next event, as you kind of hinted at, we moderate a little bit towards the middle of next week. Also, our next chance for rain arriving towards the middle of the week.
Yeah, so I guess the last thing I would say is if you live out in the 3 to 6 inch zone we showed earlier, I'd probably, if you haven't tested the snowblower yet, it might not be a bad idea to run out right now, or at least before the storm starts, and put some gas in, give it a pull so you're not doing it at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. If not, at least throw a couple shovels, grab the shovels out of the garage and have them ready anywhere outside of 495. But again, for Boston, it's kind of just another rainy day.
Yep, absolutely. And I should mention before we go that meteorologist Eric Fisher will be tracking it this evening for 11 o'clock news. The snow will have already started falling at that point. And then tomorrow morning, Jason Michael will be in. Send those pictures on into us because you are our eyes and ears in the community. Yep. We appreciate that. If you take any videos, the kids playing, the dogs playing, rolling around in the first snow of the year, send those on into us. We love sharing them. So just find us on social media, find our email addresses. But with that, appreciate you tuning in to this Wednesday weather update with Jacob Wycoff and Terry Eliasen. Be safe out there and enjoy the snow.